Welcome back again this week to ATL Home and Market. We're glad that you've come back to visit with us. Um, we have a really interesting conversation that we're going to have today, and it's going to be the three of us who are going to be jumping in and talking about things that we've all experienced. I'm Ira Miskin. I am the broker and team leader for Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty in the Miskin Team, along with Stephanie Miskin, our co-team leader, and our senior team advisor, Dee Howard. And today's talk is about what we term the ugly duckling, and how to turn the ugly ducking, ugly ducking.
Duckling.
Good. Somebody else try to say that. Say,
Ugly duckling.
There you go. Ugly duckling into a really nifty, fancy swan. So, all of that to the benefit of your pocket, your finances, and the equity that you can draw in a house that you buy. But before we do, Stephanie's got some cool things for us to learn about that would be fun and adventurous going on around Metro Atlanta this week and coming. And Stephanie, tell us where we can go to have a good time.
Okay. Well, hey, everybody. I hope everyone had a festive Halloween and gave away a lot of candy. We didn't have that many kids. We had about 20 kids come in a group, and that was it for the night. But I hope everyone had fun. And we are now entering definitely the fall and the winter. It's going to get cold this weekend, and if you have any plants, you better bring them in because it's going to be below freezing on Monday. So here's what I got for this week. In Fulton County in the Atlanta area, this weekend, this one's happening this weekend, we have the 44th annual Georgia Veterans Day Parade. And that is on Saturday, November the 8th in downtown Atlanta. So check that out if you're in downtown Atlanta. And then starting in November, we have the at the Atlanta. Well, my cat wants to say hello. At the Atlanta Botanical Gardens, we have the Garden Lights Holiday Night at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens, and that will be starting November the 15th. That's great for families. It's beautiful. Go at night, and it's lots of fun. Also in Atlanta, the Center for Puppetry Arts has a great holiday puppet show coming up this month, and it's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So we all know what that story is about. Check that one out. In Cobb County, on Thanksgiving Day, I talked about this a little bit earlier, is the Gobble Jog. And that is going to be in the Marietta Square. And it is a race on Thanksgiving morning. And all of the proceeds will go towards Must Ministries, who helps the homeless in so many ways you can't imagine. And especially now with what's going on with our government and people losing their food stamps, they can use all the money and food to help all the people that need it. So if you don't want to run, you can just sign up and you can get a t-shirt, and that money will go to the cause and to help all those people that really need it. So that is happening on Thanksgiving Day. In Cherokee County, this is going to be going on next weekend, and it is called the Denim Fest. And it's a festival with arts and crafts, and it's going to have carnival rides, and it's going to have a big white tent and local vendors with pop-ups, college football on the big screen. So that's going to be going on in the Mill on Etowah, which is up in the Canton area, and that will be taking place next weekend. Now, this is a great time of the year to go up to the mountains. It's beautiful. The leaves are changing. It's a great time to hike. So there is going to be, and this sounds like a ton of fun, this is November the 14th, a winery comedy tour at the Dog Hobbler Cellars in Blue Ridge. So go up to Blue Ridge on November the 14th, find the dog hobbler sellers and go on a winery tour and a comedy, and it's going to have a comedy show. And this is going to be at 7 o'clock on Friday. Wine tasting, comedy night at a mountain vineyard setting. I mean, what could be more fun? And then while you're up there, stay in one of the state parks that's close. Get yourself a nice little cabin and go up to Amicalola Falls or Vogel State Park, and which is not far at all from Blue Ridge, and spend the night. And then the next day, get up and get on the train in Blue Ridge and take a wonderful ride through the mountains. I'm sure the color is going to be spectacular this time of the year. So, you know, I think the train actually takes off in Mineral Bluff, but get online and look for the train ride coming out of Blue Ridge and Mineral Bluff, and sign up for that and enjoy the color and just the beauty that you only can find up in the mountains of Georgia. So that's what I got. A whole bunch of stuff going on all over the place.
So, my favorite sounds like do the winery tour.
Right.
Drink enough wine so that no matter how funny or boring the comedy show is, it will be totally a blast and you'll have a great time.
I think it's great.
Gotten yourself warmed up for it.
Yeah. I mean, what could be more fun but go drink wine and watch some comics? I mean, you know, even if they're not funny and you have some wine, you'll think they're funny, right?
And they're probably terrific. So
I'm sure they are.
It'll be all around. It'll be a good time. And I mean, over the years, we've actually, you know, people think, you know, wineries in the mountains in Georgia.
True.
In truth, there are some wonderful vineyards and very good wine producers up there. And we have bought wine over the years that have been every bit as good, and in some cases even better than comparable California wines and even overseas wines. So Georgia is not what people think. It is filled with a diverse landscape, diverse people, diverse activities. It's quite an interesting place, sitting here in the deep South, and particularly in the North Georgia mountains. There's a lot of fun to be had.
This is a great time to go to the mountains. I mean, you know, September, October, November, it's just spectacular up there.
Yep. And, you know, unlike other places that have mountains like Canada, where the snow will be 20 feet deep,
right,
you can actually have a good time all through the winter up in North Georgia. So there you go. So one of the
I had no idea there was wineries in North Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that. That's good to know.
It's a bunch. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And very good wine. Very good wine. Just like there are a whole bunch of very good houses out there that people are not aware of. I had no idea that a house like this would be so valuable to me. Those houses that we call ugly ducklings, which are really houses that, when you look at what they are houses that come complete with hidden equity. These are houses that, when you're out searching for a home, that they don't look so great in the pictures, and their price is below market. But those, if you're inclined to want to find a home that you can turn into an amazing home, looking at houses that are below market that can offer hidden equity is a really good thing to do. And it's not because of location. It's really, right, Steph D, more because of the condition or the age of the home, as opposed to, you know, what that location is.
Right. You want the location to be a good location. The house can be an ugly house and you can fix that up. You can't fix up location. But you can fix up an ugly house in a great school district. And there you got it. You got a gem. We used to call it sweat equity. I don't know if they still call it that, but
Yeah, they do.
they still call it sweat equity. Yeah, you put in a little sweat equity and you're sitting pretty.
Yeah. So, it's like there are lots of communities, like the community that you live in, and the communities that surround it, that were the earliest suburban communities around metro Atlanta, who have all of those homes, those nice little brick ranches, and all of those properties that were built in the 60s, 70s. Those are really interesting places to go and look, aren't they?
They are. And what I'm finding is that nowadays, those brick ranches, when they renovate them and they do the upgrades, they're spraying the brick. That was unheard of when I was growing up, because I remember, we lived in a brick home and they're spraying the brick ranches and they are doing a wonderful job. It gives it a fresh look. And a friend of mine actually just did a home renovation in her house. I am sure that that gained her a lot of equity, because the inside of her house looks like it's a 2025 redo. It looks awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. See, what happens is that buyers will walk into a house like that, um, and they can't envision what it can be. Well, they'll walk into a house that was built,
Right.
let's say, in 1980 or so. And the house is, physically it's okay. The roof is good, and the heat and air system is good, but the house hasn't been updated since 1980, and they turn their nose up on it and they walk away. But not the smart buyers. The smart buyers see instant value, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I have a perfect example. So our second house that we bought was one of those ugly ducklings. And the first time that I learned about doing sweat equity, when my husband and we tore down the kitchen cabinets in the house. And I remember learning about wall cabinets and floor cabinets. And I'm like this, trying to hold the cabinet up against the wall so that he can screw in the screws to get the cabinet in, and learning to put in countertops. And we finished the basements ourselves. But as you well know, there's funds available for people who want to do the sweat equity.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is. There is. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. There are some really, really good FHA backed loans that you can get that enable you to refinish homes and do it in a very economical and do it in a very well planned way. So that's a really good point, Dave. We're going to jump into that in a little bit.
And let me finish the story.
Go.
So I don't remember what we bought the house for. We stayed in it for 2 years while we were fixing it up, which was an experience all in itself. And when we sold it, we made an additional, that was, let's see, how many years ago? That was 25 years ago. We made $30,000 profit from a house that we bought undervalued. And we were very happy.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. You see, I think when people buy houses, and they're buying a house to live in the house, they want to raise their family in the house, they want to downsize, or whatever the reasons are, but they're buying the house to live in the house. And what they're not always clear about is what the longer term value is of the house that they bought.
Yes.
And that longer term value is equity.
Mhm.
And that equity comes over time, because very rarely, in very rare situations, we had that back in 2008, but once in 50 years, and we've already had it in our 50 years, there's the kind of economic issues nationally that cause home values to decrease. But even if they do, you keep what you have and you go out and you buy more, because inevitably those houses are going to continue to raise in value. And that equity is money in your pocket.
Mhm.
It's not the stock market that can go up and go down and do that in a day. It's not, trying to trade gold. You see all these advertisements on TV, buy gold. There's only so many houses and so much land. And when you have one and you use it for what it's designed for, which is to have a great and comfortable place to come home to, but also have a value to it when you need it or when you sell it. So all those different aspects to really what it is. But a lot of it comes down to, I think, um, as Stephanie said when we first started, location, yes, very important. Where do you want to live? What's important to you about living in that location? And then looking for homes at that location that need work, that once done, once updated, really helps change the whole perspective of that home.
Right.
Okay, you're out there. D, you're out there all the time with buyers. What do you do and how do you spot that ugly duckling that you know is going to be of good value to your buyer?
That's a good question. How do I spot it?
Yeah.
Well, what I look for if my clients are interested in doing some sweat equity, you just make sure it's in the location that they want to live in, and you also make sure that it has good bones, as they say, right? Things are working, the mechanicals are working, and maybe the kitchen needs updating. Maybe it's just a couple of bathrooms that need updating or carpet. So I think that it's more likely that you can negotiate on the price because the house needs work. So you can come into the house with some equity, and then when you update it, you are increasing the value knowing that you're going to stay there long term with your family. And to me, that's a win-win all the way around.
So, Steph,
Yep.
talk about really thinking through and evaluating location when you make a choice to get out there and go find a home. What are the key things that people should be thinking about when you talk location?
Well, everybody's got different criteria, but for example, if you have a family, school systems, very important. If your kid's going to be in public school, which most people put their children in public school, you want to make sure that it's a good school district. You want to make sure, if you don't have children and you're commuting and your job is, for argument's sake, downtown Atlanta, you want to know what the commute is going to be like. So you've got to check those things out. Certain people are tied into certain churches or religious organizations, and they want to be close to the religious organization that they belong to. Other things that might concern people are family. So it might be a young couple that has some children and they want to live close to relatives to help them out for childcare, because childcare is crazy expensive now. And if grandma or grandpa or aunts or uncles are, let's get the village together to help raise the kids, that can really cut costs. So everybody has different things that drive the location that they want to be in. And it is our job as the realtor to get them to open up to us and tell us what those are so that we can help them in that first step, which is location.
So, starting out, location really trumps looks.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I I had a couple that I can tell a story quickly, but I had a couple that was very tied in. They were Mormons. And I don't know if anybody doesn't know anything about the Mormon church. The Mormon church has a map that you have to live in within this, what is it, area in order to go to that specific church. So they had to be in that area. And a house came on the market, and it was an ugly duckling. And but it was in that criteria. It was in their price range. It fit everything that they needed. They needed a basement because his mom was going to move in, because they had two little kids. She had just had a baby, and they had two little kids, and mom was going to help out with the kids. And we walked in, and it was 1980 all the way. And I said, come on, guys. And they were pretty handy. And they got that house undervalued, went in and are still in it many years later. And that house has increased. I can't even tell you how much in price. Not only was it within the church criteria, but it was also in a number 10 school district. So that it was solid gold for them.
So that's a good way to look at. They bought a house that was ugly,
right?
But it wasn't broken.
It was not broken. It was just 1980. It was just everything was brown. The kitchen hadn't been redone. It was 1980, but it wasn't broken. No, I mean the bones were good. Absolutely, it didn't have major foundation issues, so they could move in. The nice thing about that one was they could move in and live with the ugly and fix it while they live there.
Yeah. I do want to say that in the modern age that we live in, you can love HGTV or you can not like HGTV, but many millennials, they want an HGTV home because that's what they see. Yeah. Well, they live in one because their parents took 20, 30, 40 years to get to the point where they live in a beautiful, lavished home, but they want that home, now. Their first one, for their first home. And what I have to say is, if you're in a situation where you may not make all the money that you want to, you can still afford to buy a home if you look for a diamond in the rough.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yep. Ugly, but not broken. So, if you need a $15,000 roof and $12,000 heat and air system and $3,500 worth of hot water system, and
I think I'll pass.
Exactly.
I think I'll pass.
An investor that can tear everything apart, has their own crews, can do all the renovation. That's different. And they're going to negotiate differently on the price, and they're going to go just differently on the terms. But for you and me, who want to be able to find a home that we can turn into the vision that we have,
yes,
but not break the bank, and still have the comfort of being able to live there. Ugly is okay. Broken is not okay, right? A different kind of set of circumstances. But it takes you to where you really want to look at balancing out what the home is with what the neighborhood is like, mm-hmm. and what the neighborhood trends are. Because, even if you find a great home, that's an ugly duckling, you want to look at the long game. And this is research and history that we can look at to kind of predict the future. And you do this all the time when you're looking at home values, particularly when you're writing offers on homes, is to really determine not only what the house is worth today, but as best you can from looking at the growth trends in equity and value in homes, try to predict down the road. If you're going to live in this house for the next 5 to 7 years, it's pretty likely that your house, particularly if you do work, is going to be worth X as opposed to Y. How do you dig into that, Dee, to help buyers have a sense of comfort in knowing that when they buy the ugly duckling and they put the money in, the equity is going to be there, particularly as they look down the road?
I laugh because there is a saying in the market: does the house need lipstick and rouge? Or does it need an overhaul? So we're going to go with the lipstick and rouge, And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the equity, the increase in value in Metro Atlanta is around 4.5% a year.
Yeah.
So if you take that number and you plug it into whatever total that you're buying, if you're buying a $200,000 house and there's a 4.5% or 4% increase in value every year compounding, you can see very quickly how that will improve your chances of being able to build equity quickly based on what you do to the house. So, we're not talking about what is it called? Over, when you put too much over into the house, what is that called?
Overspend.
Well,
What was that?
We're all blank on what the term is, but don't put too much darn money into the house.
Don't put too much darn money into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that you can do, I think, to show clients is, for argument's sake, you can go into a neighborhood and you can find 1 or 2 or 3 ugly ducklings very easily, most of the time. And then you can find the same style house, the same year that the house was built, but that had been updated.
Yeah.
And you can show them. I mean, that in my neighborhood, it's so typical. If you have a house that has had nothing done to it, it's selling for about, argument's sake, $500,000. You go and you look at the same house from the outside, the same year it was built, but then you go in and you see they've redone the kitchens, they've redone the bathrooms, they've redone the flooring. And that house is $100,000 to $200,000 more than the house that had nothing done to it. And you can show that to a client. You can say, here, look, here's house A, nothing's been done. Here's house B, this is what's been done. This is what this house sold for. This is what you're trying to buy your house for. So that's a perfect visual example for a young couple.
And the word I was looking for is over improve.
Oh, there you go.
That's
right.
And the information is out there in terms of what gives you the most bang for your buck when you are renovating.
Yes.
So there are things like, we know, kitchens and bathrooms, that's a good place to put your money.
Yep. And paint is cheap.
And paint is very cheap and makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
Yep. So paint the house, decor the
and
house.
Don't paint it green or yellow or some off color if you know you're going to sell it.
Right. Yeah.
Stay neutral.
Stay neutral. Right. Like the pink house.
Yes.
Right. So if you want your house all pink, just know that when you want to sell it,
you're going to have to
better budget the money to paint it all HGTV beige or HGTV gray.
Yes.
Okay. Because that's what most people want. And just because you love pink, but I love pink, the house is beautiful. And buyers say,
Always put on the glasses from a buyer's perspective.
Absolutely.
For sure. Okay. So, okay. So the idea that you could buy a house for 50 or 60 or $70,000 under market value, and you want to bring that house up to a standard physically in terms of its look and its feeling that makes it modern and makes you feel good about being able to come home to the house. But as Dee said, you don't want to over improve and overspend because you're just not going to get your money back unless you live in the house for 10, 12, 15 years. And by that time, it'll need to be remodeled again anyway. So you have to be careful about the budget for it. But then it comes to, all right, where do I get the money and how do I make this work? And um, there are some really good programs for people who are willing to do the work or supervise the work being done and have an idea of what they want so they can create a plan, buy a house for $200,000, have the money necessary to put $75,000 in, and when it's complete, the house appraises for $300,000. And you could do all of that with using other people's money built into a loan. The particular loan is called a 203K loan. Um, the if you walk into a home with a buyer and the buyer says, this house is really ugly, but I can fix it. But I don't know how much it's going to cost. And I don't know. You say, okay, what are the steps that you take with that buyer to get them oriented towards looking at loans like a 203K loan for them to be able to have the price they go in as the rock bottom price you can get it for, the cost of turning it into something really pretty, and the house appraising and have equal value or more value to what it was that the total cost was. Step us through.
Well, it's all about getting qualified for the 203K program. And from my understanding, you have to make sure that your cost in terms of your acquisition cost plus the renovation cost is at least 80% less than what the expected value is after the repair. And you have to have time to supervise because you will supervise or hire a general contractor, a GC, to supervise the renovation. So it's a process, but it's absolutely doable to help you get into that home if you really like the location and that home will work for you long term.
And there are two types of those 203K loans. There's the standard, which is for bigger projects, and there's a limited version for smaller projects that are under, let's say, $35,000 to get the house cleaned up. But there's steps, okay? Step number one is that you want to have an upfront valuation of what that home would be valued at once it was complete, which is why, as Dee, you and Stephanie have said, check around the neighborhoods and find a house that is just like it, that is modern and up to date, and see what that home is valued at. Because that's going to tell you, once you've completed the work on your home, essentially what your home is going to get appraised at, which has to appraise to cover the purchase price of the house and the cost of the renovation loan that all get rolled in together. Okay.
Right.
Right.
Um, so now you've got the money and you've got generally a plan. before you'll actually get that money handed to you by the bank, you have to have a full, complete remodeling program in writing, with contractors, with bids, with costs, with time schedules, so that the bank knows that you're not going to take 4 years to do this, that the money's going to get paid out over a time period anywhere from 2 to 6 months, let's say, and that they also know how the money is going to get paid, because you own the house now and you're paying mortgage on the house and there's interest payments. And so all of that has to be bundled together. And so there's some work. It takes probably a month to get all of that put together. But then once it starts, that's when it gets exciting, because all of a sudden you can start to really see, oh my gosh, this is going to work. This kitchen's going to be totally cool. Ah, the house is not purple anymore. You know, all of those kind of things, you know, so that then you can have a big housewarming party and invite everybody to it. Okay. There are other types of loans that are out there. Dee, are you familiar with the Fannie Mae's HomeStyle loan? Um,
I'm not familiar with the Fannie Mae HomeStyle. No.
Okay.
Other than you have to put down 5%,
That-
and it has to be your primary home.
That's right.
So an investor would not be eligible for that.
That's correct. That's not an investor loan. This is for someone who's going to live in it with 5% down, and then you can manage the renovation loans. Freddie Mac has something that's similar, right, Stephanie, called the Choice
Yeah, it's called
Renovation.
Choice Renovation. And if you're a vet, they even have a VA renovation loan that lets you roll up to $50,000 of repairs into your VA mortgage, which is great. I mean, that if you're a vet, that's a great thing to take advantage of.
Yep. And all these loans are valuing the home at what the after repair value is.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, you look around, particularly in areas that they have gotten very pricey, and yet what you really want and need in location is in those areas. This is a way to walk into communities that you would not otherwise be able to afford on an upfront purchase. But managing the costs of all of this and the time frame necessary means you can actually live in communities where home prices might on the front end be more than you can afford on a monthly basis. But in doing renovations and managing those renovations over time, like Dee did with her second home with her husband,
Yeah.
okay, you just have to be able to hold up those cabinets.
Hold up that cabinet.
You know, and I think one thing too is to get the younger folks that are out there trying to buy their first home, who, like you said, Dee, they want to walk into HGTV, to understand the potential here. And what I'm trying to get at is, if they're looking at a house that is, say, in a good neighborhood, but has been redone by somebody else, or they're looking at the ugly duckling in the same neighborhood, they actually can, if they buy the ugly duckling, get it to look exactly like they envision it. Whereas, and they can get the money with one of these loans, where if they go out and they buy that other house, which has been redone by somebody else, it might not be exactly what they want, but now they don't have the money to do any changes to it, so they're living with it. So in all reality, by putting in the sweat equity, they might actually get the house that they envision better by buying the ugly duckling. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. For me,
Yeah.
it does. Yeah.
Yeah. And to get that information across to them is our job. That's our job. because they don't think that way. They still think, well, I'll just rent because the landlord will come in and fix the hot water heater when it breaks.
Yeah.
That's like the wrong attitude. You're throwing your money away.
Then there's, if you're going to buy the house, fix up the house, and live in it, for a while. If your plan is you want to, oh, this is my house forever, or this is my house until we've got enough equity in the home, and 5-6 years from now, we're going to be making more money, and if we fix the house up, we'll enjoy it, but it'll also be attractive enough so that when we want to sell it for top market value, there'll be buyers that'll be interested in purchasing it from it, so we can take our equity out and move up to another home, a bigger home, a more valuable home, and maybe do the same thing all over again. So
Right.
that's a plan. But then there's the D. Howard plan,
Which is
which
what?
is buy a house with the intention of flipping it, but you're not an investor that's going to buy it, fix it up, and get rid of it in 90 days. You're a buyer, like Dee did, that bought the home, lived in it, fixed it up, and a couple of years later, when they were ready to move up. So let's talk about that as a strategy for some buyers
Okay.
who have a shorter term vision. I mean, why did you do it? And how does that strategy apply? And how would you help a buyer to at least consider, if not get comfortable with that kind of strategy?
Well, if they're open to not just buying the best looking home in the neighborhood, and they're open to the idea of doing some work, that is one of the best ways of buying something, fixing it up, living there for a little while. I think, what's the average time period now for people to stay in a home? I think 5 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next, after they live in it for 5 years, then step up to a bigger home and do the same thing, and then step up to another home, and maybe that might be your forever home. So there's a reason why many people get rich or can live very comfortably in real estate, having real estate, because that is such a great way of having, quote unquote, money in the bank. Your money is in the home, and you can unlock that money when you sell it and move up. And then it helps with your taxes. You get a tax break because you roll that money right into your next home.
Right.
So there's several different opportunities and ways for you to help your portfolio with real estate.
Mm-hmm. So live in it and flip, which might be in a year, 2, 3. You're not intending to be in there for 6, 7, 8, 10 years and then resell it. Your intention is to have a good, comfortable location to be able to live in, do the work over time.
Yep.
Have a plan and have a budget for what it is that you want to accomplish. Do as much of it on a week to week, month to month basis on your own as you can do. I mean, I don't necessarily say, hey, you got to learn how to be a plumber and tear out all of the plumbing and put all the plumbing in the house. But you can pay $20,000 to have a whole interior of a house repainted, or you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Dulux Paint and buy 5 gallons of paint and get a roller and a paintbrush and tape up the windows and paint a room at a time over the course of a year. And you can completely repaint the entire home turning it from something ugly into something pleasing because you took Saturday to paint the living room, and next Thursday, when you had the day off, to repaint the second bedroom, and so on. And you have a plan to do it. But then there's also the goal of using property, buying an ugly duckling, fixing it up, and then holding it to put it into your own rental group. It's called the BRRRR, buy, rehab, rent. And once you've got that house up to its full value, go ahead and refinance it so that you can take the equity out of the home in the first couple of years and use that money as the down payment on your next home. But you have a little different plan, don't you, Dee or Steph, for how you're going to remodel that home, because you're not living in it now, but you
Right.
want it to be attractive to people who are willing to pay you a good, solid rent. So how would you think that through and plan that out and look at, what the time frame would be to be able to use it to get more money from it?
Well, my husband and I have a little tiny 884 square feet home, 884 square feet home in East Point. We bought it in 1991 for $26,000.
Wow.
And that little baby has paid for itself. It stays rented. The renter recently just moved out, so now we're doing some sweat equity, and we're in the process of renovating it. We put new floors down. We updated the bathroom. Again, we put in our own cabinets again. Oh my gosh. In the kitchen.
Well, an 800 square foot house, it's almost a tiny house.
So, did we renovate it as if we were living in it?
No, of course not.
Absolutely not. We had a budget. We stuck to the budget. We got quality products, but it wasn't creme de la creme, because the goal here is to have a nice home for a family to live in, and they will enjoy it while we enjoy the profit. And that is part of our portfolio for retirement. So yes, there's absolutely different strategies, and we have refinanced in times past to pull money out, pull equity out, and then, just let it keep on growing. So real estate is to me, one of the greatest investment tools out there. I'm scared of the stock market. I don't understand the stock market, but I understand real estate. That I can do.
So, again, folks think, this is difficult, when in fact it's really not that difficult at all. And once you do it one time, you realize that all you're doing is repeating the same steps in the process. But it's the front end thinking that makes the entire process work. Buy an ugly duckling that's inexpensive enough for you to have the ability to fix it to the point where it's a pleasant and comfortable home for people to live in, and keep it rented. And see how quickly, because the rent pays for all the costs of keeping the property, and if it's set up correctly, it actually gives you a profit from the rent, plus the advantages of the tax advantages, as Dee, you talked about, and the advantage of 2-3 years down the line being able to refinance the loan and take cash out of it and do it all over again. and I say, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Mhm.
You just need to have a plan, and then repeat the plan, and don't get silly, because again, this is not the castle that you're living in. But even if you want to turn your home into a castle, you still have to be careful to not do what Dee said early on, which is to put, um, you know, cabinets that you would see in a $2 million house into your $500,000 house, because you'll never see the return on that investment.
Yeah,
Unless you stay there for 40 years and you just love those cabinets every day. Oh my God.
yeah, but we see that a lot. I mean, we see that a lot when we deal with these expired listings. You'll talk to them and they'll say, and they've over improved the house and they've priced themselves out of the market. And that's why the house didn't sell. But many times when you talk to them, it's like, well, we thought we were going to live here till we die. And then something happened and their plan changed. And now they're cannot live in the house anymore for whatever the reason is. They can't make the stairs, or they got a job someplace else and they have to sell this house. They have over improved that home. And it is very, very hard mentally for them to understand that they're not going to get their money out of it. And, so don't do that. Be really careful, because none of us know what the future holds. And if you over improve, you can make a big mistake.
And that is so true, Steph, because many times we hear, well, I put $40,000 in it, and they expect to get
40
50 or 60,000. I want to get my money out. Well, you kind of spent it in the wrong areas.
Yeah, right. And, people will put in pools all the time because they want a pool. And that's like the kiss of death to some people with little kids. They don't want a house with a pool in the backyard. That's
Exactly.
it's scary. It's a potential danger. So, yeah, I mean, all these things, we know about it because this is our business. And that's why, you really have to talk to somebody who knows this business, who understands buying property for rental, buying property to fix and flip, buying ugly. You need to talk to somebody who has done it and understands it so that they can guide you.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, we spent some time talking about generational combinations.
Right.
Younger folks and parents buying a big enough home so that they could actually have two families living in it.
Right.
And because that's becoming more than a trend, those are good ways to be able to do an upgrade of a home and reduce the costs on a day-to-day basis for the people who are living in it. But keep in mind that if you're going to do that, and as Dee said, you're going to put $50,000 into creating a full one-bedroom home in the basement with a kitchen and a bath and a living area, and it's really lovely. And you expect, I put $50,000 into the house, and there's a whole apartment down there, and all the houses in the neighborhood are selling for $325,000, and you have what really is nothing more than, in that neighborhood, a finished basement. And so maybe you can get 330,000 or 335,000 if it's a really extraordinary finished basement. The buyer loves it and can't live without it. Otherwise, the house is worth what it's worth. But I put all that money in. Yeah, good. Okay, did you enjoy it while you were there?
Right.
Somebody else will enjoy it, but they can't get a loan for a house that's $375,000 in a $325,000 neighborhood. And nobody's going to give you an extra $50,000 just because you put a nifty kitchen in the basement.
Because they don't think about appraisal value when they're doing this. And that's super important. I mean, most people are buying a house with a loan, and you need an appraisal to get a loan. So, if you do all that work and that house doesn't appraise, well, you're kind of in a pickle.
That's why when people take those 203K loans, the appraisal value
Right.
of what that house will appraise for when
Right.
the renovations are complete
Right.
is known up front.
Right. Yeah,
so
that
that you can't get more money than the appraisal value of the home is for, and you don't get trapped into putting more money, and then the house fails to appraise. But I spent all this money. Yeah, well, good, congratulations. The house
Yeah.
is still worth what it's worth.
yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
That's why people who are investors who fix and flip um, are so focused on what it's going to cost and do everything they can to make the house attractive, but keep to the budget
Right.
because there has to be a profit margin in it. But,
Yes.
doing a short-term fix and flip is a good business, but now you really have to hunt for the right property and really know how to budget what the costs are. D, you work with a number of investors, and they're pretty picky about what they buy, aren't they?
They're picky and they're cheap, Ira.
But it's because this is a business. This is not,
Right.
going to live in the basement.
Correct. They
Right.
don't get emotionally tied to the house. It's all about the numbers.
Right.
So, how do you work out a deal that turns out to be a manageable deal for an investor?
It's made or broken based on what can be negotiated with the seller. So if well, first of all, the investor is always going to go below what the ask price is.
Mhm.
And there's several situations. Sometimes the seller just doesn't respond because their feelings were hurt. Investors don't care if
Okay.
their feelings were hurt. Either you counter or you reject. So it's definitely a way to, you have to negotiate very hard in order to make this happen, because you have two people. You have the seller who thinks their house is like Taj Mahal, and then you have the buyer, investor, that thinks their house needs to be bulldozed, and there has to be somewhere in the middle.
That's true.
So just from a numbers basis, an investor going in will have a budget. We used to, after we sold our construction company, for a number of years, we were fixing and flipping. And we had a very clear budget for all of the expenses that are incurred by the investor to get that house purchased, prepared, and sold. And so everything, including, hey, what is the value of the money that I put in? Let's say an investor buys a house for cash. That cash is not sitting someplace where it's earning interest on that money. So that interest has to be accounted for because that's part of the income or cost of that home. You still have to pay taxes. You still have to have insurance on the home. All of those are expenses that flippers have to pay, in addition to the actual physical work of getting that home prepared, in addition to whether we're selling it for them or they're marketing themselves, the cost of marketing and selling that home. So when an investor looks at a property and says, I'm not willing to pay any more than 70% of what full market value is, it's because they need to have a walkaway profit. And if their walkaway profit is, let's say, 15%, that's 15% after all the costs, buying the house, fixing the house, um, maintaining the house until it's sold, etc.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Say, so they're not just being cheap; they're being clear on the costs involved, so that there is a profit at the end of the sale. Right? You have talked to, home sellers just recently. Home sellers who bought a house for more than they should have, and a year later they now want to sell the house and they want to make a profit. What are the bumps in the road on that kind of thing?
The bumps in the road are so tall, it becomes a wall, actually, because they there's no equity. And they just are their expectations are not valid in terms of trying to sell the house so quickly to make a profit.
Because they bought the house with a loan that was too high.
Correct.
And so the loan prohibits them from being able to sell the house for any more than X.
Yes.
But you can't sell the house for X because there are costs involved in selling the house.
Correct.
So once you get finished, you end up having to bring money to the closing.
To the closing table. Correct.
So, why did you buy that house? What was your reasoning? And who advised you? Somebody who just wanted to get a commission because they wanted to help you buy a house? Or did you work with an agent that has a team that has experience in assisting people in buying homes that they want to be able to sell at a certain period of time and earn a profit, to guide you away from that poor business decision and guide you towards something else that's going to enable you to actually purchase it for a price that lets you, in, let's say, 12 months, sell the house profitably, because there's a cushion between what you paid for it, what your mortgage is, and what the cost of sale is, and you walking away with a check. So it's not just buy it and sell it. You darn well need a really good team, an experienced real estate professional like Dee, for example, who's had a great deal of experience both personally and in working with investors and helping them buy and sell, and also working with the average person who wants to buy and eventually wants to sell. The principles are the same, aren't they? You still want to get a home for the best price and be able to sell that home and get a profit from it, have equity in it. How do you wrestle people emotionally and intellectually to the ground and get them to do the right thing?
Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. All we can do is present all the facts and advise. But hopefully they'll listen. Hopefully you've built that relationship that they respect your opinion and your knowledge as a working professional, and they listen to you. But, not everybody does. And so, sometimes you just have to let them buy the house that they want, even though you in your heart know that it's not the right decision.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you.
Now, there's one more type of purchase that you could buy and clean up and turn into what has become, for some people who do this smartly in the right communities, a really profitable business, which is an Airbnb, using the short-term rental strategy for properties to be able to get a great deal of income out of a property that you purchase correctly, put into the kind of configuration that would enable it to be used as that, couple of day to couple of week rental and get much larger rental sums and run that as a business. You're actually managing, and I've talked to and deal with Airbnb buyers, don't you?
Yeah, Diaz.
Yes, I have limited experience, but I do know an owner, and that he runs a pretty profitable Airbnb. And I would always suggest, especially the World Cup is coming here next year.
Yeah, right.
Talk about going to the bank. An Airbnb is a wonderful business to be in. You do need to have the patience and the knowledge. There's so many, now that I've started managing Airbnbs, there's so many nuances in terms of pricing, changing the pricing, giving incentives, discounts, dealing with repairs when someone dirties something, breaks something. It's a whole new world, but it's definitely available and desirable for those that want to have that as an investment opportunity, because
Right.
there is lots of money to be made with short. You can make more money short-term rental than the regular yearly leasing.
Just takes more management and more marketing, I think, correct?
It does.
Yeah. So you really have to you have to either have to hire somebody to manage it or a company, and you got to market it all the time and really be up on your marketing because
Yeah.
there's a lot of them out there now. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you're willing to do that, there's a good profit margin in it.
It's a good profit margin.
And your location is very important. It's like, are you going to be, like you said, close to where the World Cup's going to be? Are you going to be someplace in the city so that it's accessible for businessmen when they come in? They don't want to, maybe they're going to be here for 2-3 weeks. They don't want to be in a hotel, but they want to be close to downtown where they're going to be working. Or do you want to use it as a vacation idea, like in Lake Arrowhead community, where people can go up and spend the weekend or the week or the holidays? So there's lots of thoughts about location when you do that.
Yeah.
You don't care about school districts, you don't
Correct.
care about that kind of stuff. There's other kind of stuff that you have to think about before you buy that property.
Like a house in the Blue Ridge Mountains would be more vacation.
Correct.
Clients, guests, versus someone that is like the house that I manage. I get a lot of business people that have crews that come in for weeks at a time, and they'll rent the house because they are doing something in Lawrenceville area. So location is key in terms of the type of guest that would book with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whatever the type of property, whether you're buying it to fix it up to live in it for the next 12 years, or you're buying it to fix it up to sell it perhaps in a year or two, but live in it, or you're buying it to fix and flip, or you're buying it as an Airbnb, price and location are the two big goalposts. Doesn't matter what the property is, location and price, and what is that property going to get used for, to guide you to the right location, to help you to determine the right price, to help you to determine what the appraisal value will be, to help you to know how much money can be put into improving that home so that it is the best that that money can buy for that particular use. And in almost every case, there are loans that you can take that enable you to buy the property, fix the property, gain the value of that property, have a monthly expense that doesn't exceed your capability, and when you're ready to sell the property, be able to get the equity out because every single day you're building more and more value with that property. So it all starts with an ugly duckling that you can turn into a beautiful swan that flies around and gives you great imaginative feelings about the beauty of that flock. And then when you want a good holiday dinner, there it is.
And you can do that in Smyrna.
That's to do that in Smyrna too.
I don't know if you can still do it, but I remember showing property in Smyrna, and there were people that had chickens in the front yard. Can you still have chickens in Smyrna? No? Oh,
Nope. No chickens in Smyrna.
you lost your audio. Your audio's off. There you go.
You could do that in Powder Springs, but not in Smyrna.
Oh, really? You used to be able to do it in Smyrna. Wow.
Smyrna has become too sophisticated now.
Oh, too bad.
Because Smyrna is, a hop, skip, and a jump from the
Vinings.
ballpark.
Yeah, Vinings.
All of the commercial community.
Yeah.
And again, when you think about Metro Atlanta and you think about where you want to be and how much change there has been in the last 10, 20, 30 years, how the cities have grown. The 35, 40 years ago, Alpharetta, which is one of the most sophisticated and high-priced and great schools and amazing shopping communities in the suburban north side of Atlanta 40 years ago, people were raising horses.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All horse farms.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And now those horse farms have, each one of them have 300 or 400 houses on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Develops, okay. But you could ride, gosh, we could do this. We used to do this up in North Marietta and Woodstock when we had horses. You could ride up trails all the way from where we were in the bottom side of Woodstock, all the way up to on trails, Lake Allatoona.
Because
Oh, wow.
there wasn't Town Lake, wasn't there?
That's right.
So we were riding through Town Lake, which was just forest.
Mm.
You could get up to Lake Allatoona. Yeah, well.
And now
Let's forward 40 years.
Yes, and now there's, several $1 billion worth of properties and businesses where we used to have, a great, morning and afternoon riding up, having a picnic up at the lake, riding back down.
No more, darling.
But you see, the city and the areas and the communities evolve. But one thing that's always going to be there is homes for people to live in and how to make the best use of your money for the plan that you should have, that your real estate professional and their team, their home lenders, the contractors that they work with, all the people behind the scenes, the researchers, can help you to have a really good, clear picture of what the value is going to be when you buy 123 Main Street and what you're going to use it for. Before Steph gives us a final briefing of all the cool things that she told us about, any summary from UD and you, Steph, on because you have both spent a lot of time in your careers really working with buyers to help them. Um, uh,
I think you summarized it pretty well already, Ira.
Yeah.
right.
Know that it's out there and take advantage of it.
So then, Steph, summarize for us where we can go drink and laugh all at the same time.
All right. If you're staying in the city, check out the Georgia Veterans Day Parade. Check out the Garden Lights holiday nights at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens. And if you have a little one, go see Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at the Center for Puppetry Arts. If you're going to be in this Cobb County, make sure you sign up for the Gobble Jog Thanksgiving Day Run to benefit Must Ministries. And if you want to go up to the mountains on November the 14th, go to a winery comedy tour at the Dog Hobbler Cellars in Blue Ridge. Spend the night at Amicalola Falls or Vogel State Parks. Go get yourself a cabin. Get up the next morning and get on the train and go look at the beautiful mountains and the trees and the leaves and enjoy the wonderful fall up in Blue Ridge area. And that's what I have.
Pretty cool. So if you need instruction on how to actually hold up cabinets while they're being screwed into the wall,
Call D.
call D. She's an expert and a professional at it.
Oh, God.
Well, the things that you learn along life and in your career, they eventually have value. Oh, cool. So I hope that you've gotten some good ideas and information out of what we talked about today. And they have a pretty good sense that, buying a home, owning a home, utilizing that home, all has value in a great many ways. And that ugly ducklings really can be turned into beautiful swans. And that those beautiful swans really help you to have equity, profit, comfort, and the ability to grow your financial stability. So, on behalf of me, Ira Miskin, and Stephanie, and Dee, I want to thank you all for joining us today on ATL Home and Market. If you liked what you heard, please click like on the YouTube little blippo around the screen. And if this is the first time that you've joined us or you've heard us, but now you're interested in really learning more on a regular basis about all of the nifty things that you can use real estate for in your life, subscribe to the channel. You can do that as well. And if you have any questions or if you'd like to explore what it would really be like for you in your particular situation, if you were going to go out and go hunt for an ugly duckling and turn it into a swan, call us, text us. We're here to help. We've got lots of information and lots of financial data that'll help you to make some pretty good decisions about what you need, and a pretty good team of folks that can really help you in each of the areas that are necessary for you to get the best value for what you buy, and down the road, get the best profit when you sell. So thank you again for joining us. And again, on behalf of Dee and Steph, we look forward to seeing you again on ATL Home and Market.
Bye.
Bye. Bye for now.